Hello, this is Lance Stewart with VolleyballNOW.net. Today we've got a special treat for you. I'm at the campus of the Irvine Valley College Lasers, the 2011 State Men's Volleyball Champions. And with me today I've got an Orange County legend in volleyball and coaching, Tom Pestolesi. Tom, thanks for taking some time to join us.
My pleasure.
All right. Tom was a graduate in 1978 from Huntington Beach High School, played for Roy Miller. He was an All-American at the University of Hawaii as a middle blocker at 6 feet 2 inches tall. Tom probably doesn't remember this, but I had a chance to play against Tom up at UC Davis when I was a sophomore or junior. They knocked us out of the tournament, and let me tell you, his quick attack and his tip were incredible. Tom was also a member of a number of open national champions. I think in the Masters division, was it, Tom? In the 40 and over, the 35 and over.
All that stuff. I got one open championship.
One open championship. Tom has won state titles at Irvine Valley College with the men's program in 93, 2007, 2008, and 2011. He's also currently an assistant coach with the U.S. Women's National Team. And Tom, let me just start off by asking you, how are your kids doing? Tom comes from a volleyball family. Talk about Kara a little bit.
Carrie's doing great. She had a nice career there at UCI. It was fun for us to have her stay local.
Right.
And she's done with her eligibility, just finishing school, and hoping next year to maybe go overseas and play.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
That's what our oldest son, Tommy, did this past year. Finished at Long Beach State, graduated from there in 10. And he played overseas in a city called, I call it Groningen, but they say it's Groningen, so I don't really know.
In the Netherlands?
In the Netherlands. I had a great experience, wonderful coach, great teammates. His team won the regular season. They ended up getting fourth during the playoffs. They kind of messed up.
Right.
But he had a great experience, and
Awesome.
now he's back. And then our youngest son, Danny, is a senior at Edison, having a good time. They're, I think they are tied for second place in the Sunset League. And Danny's doing a good job, and he'll be coming to Irvine Valley next year. And Diane's doing great. That's my
Awesome.
wife. Yeah.
Awesome. In getting into the meat of things right out of the gate, you know, I'm going to ask you a few questions here, Tom. And the first one is, I want you to think back to players of the 80s and the 90s. What did players back then do better than the current players now?
That's a great
playing
question.
indoors.
And I think being older, we think about that a lot. They had a much better all-around game, in my opinion.
Right.
The middle blockers all passed. They stayed in the whole time. If you look at video of 84, 88, 92, you had your Brian Ivies, your Craig Bucks, your Doug Partees, you know, the Steve Timmonses, when he was playing middle, they played all the way around. They could pass, they could dig.
Right.
Obviously not as good as the Karches and the Aldises and the Bob Staverlicks, but they could play the whole game better, in my opinion.
Right, right. I mean, you didn't have guys that just came in to block and hit, that were hidden in a corner.
Right.
They controlled first balls. I would agree. Now, what are some of the things that the current players are doing, other than the obvious? I think the players, you know, as we can attest, Tom's an All-American at 6'2", as a middle blocker. I mean, will we ever see a 6'2" middle blocker again at the college level?
I think I'm small for libero now.
Right.
Obviously, probably not, because I think the biggest liability there, and I was a liability on the block.
Right.
I was a pretty good blocker because I had good technique, but if guys are going to go over me, guys are going to go over me.
Right.
Yeah, that's the issue there, and now you've got, as Marv calls them, the big goons.
Right.
And they look for 6'8", 6'10" guys, and they kind of stick them in the middle, and they just tell them to take up space. So probably not, but that's where the new Division III level for men, which has expanded so much, which is wonderful.
Right.
You'll still see those 6'2" to 6'4" middles succeed, but I don't think so at the D1 level.
Right, right. Your involvement with the national team, Hugh and Karch, I mean, probably the top two names in our sport in this country, if not the world right now. I spent 6 weeks myself in there. If there's one thing that you were able to absorb and then apply to your Irvine Valley team after spending time with them in the gym, what would that one thing be, you think?
How well they communicate with their players. And it took me, I'm a little slow, it took me 20 years to realize that communication with your players is the most important thing. Because what you teach and what I teach are going to be different no matter what, and even philosophically we might like these things, but we're still going to teach some things a little different. But if you can communicate with your players, which Hugh is amazing at, because I've seen it, during tournaments, international tournaments, and it takes a lot of effort, and you have to put a lot of ego aside, and he's done that, and he's as good a communicator as I've seen, and that just seems to make those kids want to play harder for you. So that to me is the best thing, or the biggest thing that I have learned from them, on top of technically we're all pretty much on the same page, but some really neat drills, some different drills that we were able to bring into our gym, which is always kind of nice because I'm not a guy that likes to do the same thing. So some technical drills and things like that, but how well to communicate with your team seems to be, I think Hugh obviously knows volleyball, Karch obviously knows volleyball, but they're really good at communicating. And that seems to be a formula that works very well for them.
Yeah, I think that's good. I maybe some advice for younger coaches just getting into it or maybe new to the sport. How much time, and you've been